Welcome to Mr. Biz Radio, biz talk for biz owners. If you're ready to stop faking the funk and take your business onward and upward, this show is for you. And now, here's Mr. Biz, Ken Wentworth.
All right, welcome back to another episode of Mr. Biz Radio with me, Mr. Biz, Ken Wentworth. And today we have a truly fascinating guest, Dr. Dianne Olvera. She's worn many hats in her career. I got to read this because I couldn't even fathom to try to memorize this. She's been an international diplomat, an educator, a clinician, even a spy, okay? And now she's helping entrepreneurs and leaders unlock the power of connection. We're going to dive into how subtle shifts in language and intentional communication can transform your business, your team, and your bottom line. You will not want to miss this. Dr. Olvera, welcome to Mr. Biz Radio.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Yeah, looking forward to having you. As we were doing the show prep, it's like, man, there's so many different directions we can take this conversation, but I really want to focus on a few different things, and we'll get into some of those. Before we get into those, I just just touch the tip of the iceberg there, but tell us a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey.
Sure. I was born in Pennsylvania, and but my parents were kind of like an old curmudgeon family. We weren't allowed to talk back. We weren't allowed to ask questions. If I did, I got Fells Naphtha soap slid behind my front teeth, but it had to be really wet and gooky. And then if that didn't work, then I got the belt or the spoon and you name it.
Yep.
So when I left home, I didn't have any social skills. And I worked for a bank for a while, went to college for a while, and ended up as a stewardess. And the reason I'm saying this is an example of impulsive speech. I was flying the Indianapolis 500, and I was rather new. We had real forks, and I was going down the aisle, going around, I thought, everybody's elbow, when I heard a clunk. And on my way back to get more trays, this man had a bloody tooth in his hand, and he said I took his tooth out with my hip. So my flying partner didn't have any idea of what to do. So what did I do? I ran up to the cockpit, flung open the door, and said, "Captain," and here we are in our descent. "Captain, you can't land this airplane right now. I just took this man's tooth out with my hip. What do I do?" He said, "Go and finish the trays and we'll talk." So we landed the plane, man got off luckily, and there was an ambulance at the bottom of the stairs. And I said, "Oh my God." He said, "Get in." I said, "What?" He said, "Get in." I said, "Oh my God, are you going to kill me? I mean, there's something that and he said, "No." He said, "Actually, I thought this was such a funny thing that I radioed down and I told the tower what happened, and they gave us a ride on the Goodyear blimp."
Oh, geez.
Now that was, a funny answer to something I could have really done damage. But that was my first entry into, I got to learn how to talk. So as a stewardess for, 5 years, I finally kind of learned how to work with people. But I made another big mistake. I married an Argentine, ended up living in Argentina. That didn't work out, but I met my husband at the American Embassy, and we became diplomats. Now, life as a diplomat is not what you think. I mean, you don't go to parties, you work parties, especially in our dual role of collecting information. So one of my first opportunities was to meet the president of Argentina. Now, I don't know if you remember, probably in the 70s, they had the dirty war. So I met the president, and he was adorable. When I got my security clearance, I found out that he was responsible for killing women and children, and the desaparecidas and the mothers of the plaza. So that started my journey on how do people use language, because the language of power was mesmerizing. I had to be very careful about every conversation I had, even to the minutia of, does your husband drink? And because that later on would be used against him in other situations. So after we finished our work in Argentina and we went to the Pentagon, got some more training, and then we worked in Mexico, which was another difficult situation. When I finished that work, I was so intrigued with how does language affect people that I went for my first doctorate in bilingual special education because I wanted to know, how does the brain work? How do people process information? And what are the nuances or the maladies that actually cause this degeneration or issues in the brain? And how do they get around it? That was enough until I tried to fight for people. And that didn't work because I didn't have enough understanding of the whole language cognitive situation that I went for another doctorate and in language reading and culture. And then I started using it in my classroom with my college students. Then I used it as a teacher. And then when I started teaching at the Florida Atlantic University, I passed a brain institute, a cognitive brain research study, and I was able to do research there. I was working in a private practice also. And I found that in the small research that we did do, we found that when people use their inner words, like if you were to learn a story, learn a dance step, and I just showed it to you, would you be able to reproduce it? Unless you talk to yourself, would you be able to produce it better? So what we found is that when people don't talk to themselves, they had lighting all over their brain, looking for information, how to fix it. But as soon as we had them use their words, within 5 minutes, we fixed their brain. Well, that was enticing. So that's my next step was, how do we formulate this into a way that's easy, but yet transformative? What works? For the last, 30 years, I have literally been able to turn even autistic kids into productive individuals. Now that I'm older, a lot of these kids are calling me, telling me that they have families, that they're business people, that they're very productive. And yet, if I had left them to the wayside, these people would be possibly having assistance throughout their life. So that started the whole process. And I from there, I actually started devising the steps that anyone can use to become using diagnosis with diplomacy to make you so adequate as a person in the workplace, as a teacher, as a parent, as anyone, because you now have power to interact with people.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. What a journey.
It was a
What
journey, but it's
and
fun.
it's very interesting. We often hear with people who come on, from their entrepreneurial journey at least, is there's something that happens along the way of your corporate career or whatever career you have, that all of a sudden your brain's like, wait a minute, I want to know more about that. I think I can help, or I can do this, or I can do that. And that's definitely what happened to you, it sounds like. Guys, we're going to hit a break here again, talking with Dr. Dianne Olvera. We'll put this in the show notes as well, but her website is drdianneolvera.com, and that's two N's in Dianne. You can also follow her on Facebook, on Instagram, and on LinkedIn as well. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about some of the different things that she employs in her business now and how she helps people.
If you would like to reach hundreds of thousands of business owners every week, Mr. Biz Radio can help. Our show airs globally 7 days a week for more than 25 hours across several internet radio stations, plus 20 plus podcast platforms. Also, video exposure on the new exclusive Mr. Biz Network streaming channel, which gets blasted to 100 plus streaming platforms, and the Mr. Biz YouTube channel, and our 350,000 social media followers multiple times every week. Join Mr. Biz Nation as an advertiser by emailing us at info@MrBizSolutions.com.
Attention, Mr. Biz Nation. We have an exclusive offer just for you. Get lifetime access to scarcity countdown timers and logic links for only $69. Yes, you heard it right. Only $69. These tools will add urgency to your email campaigns and website pages, helping you increase conversions, sales, and capture more leads. Don't miss this incredible opportunity. Visit getpulsetools.com now and take your business to new heights.
Check out all 3 of Mr. Biz's best-selling books at MrBizBooks.com. Now, once again, here's Mr. Biz.
All right, welcome back to the show, and I want to dive right back in here. I have so many different things in my notes and highlights and all kind of stuff here, so I want to make sure that we can hit a lot of these things. So the next thing I want to talk to you about, Dr. Olvera, was I know in your new book, The Power of Connection, you focus a lot on understanding individual differences to uplift and empower people. What's like one core lesson from that book do you see that is most vital, especially for entrepreneurs? A lot of people that watch and listen to the show are entrepreneurs. What's most vital, you think, from the book that for them leading teams, growing their companies, growing their ventures, et cetera?
I think understanding individual differences. Before they start to do that, they really need to open their perceptions, open their awareness. As entrepreneurs and workplace leaders, what do? We focus on what needs to be done, but we don't look at the individuals involved and use them productively. So that's why the first part of my book is really diagnosis. But it's not this heavy-duty diagnosis that I would be doing, with tests and cognitive tests. No, it's looking at your individuals and seeing their beauty. For example, you might be a generalist. You want the bottom line. And if you talk too much to this guy, what's going to happen? It just, everything goes over his head, and he starts to kind of look around the room, and he really gets bored and doesn't want to talk to you. All right, then you have the other guy who in every meeting is asking specific little questions, but then if we put it here, what would we do with that? Well, that's a specialist. And most people will get frustrated with that guy. But if we put them together and we had the generalist make the general outline of a project that we're going to do, and the specialist read all the contracts and figure out all the little nuances that we can put together, look at the beauty in that relationship. And so we're not doing that. And then the other is, how do we approach people when we talk to them? Do we have our eyes down? How do we use our eyes? If we use our eyes in a productive way, they feel felt. So just when you're giving a 5-minute discussion of what we're going to do, you look at that person right in the eye. And then after that, when they do something well, you don't say, hey, that was a good job. Say specifically what it was. I really liked the way you formulated that statement to make it so powerful that every client would want to buy our product. So now he starts to get self-awareness, or she. Mm-hmm. When you have self-awareness, you gain self-esteem. When you have self-esteem, you have self-confidence. When you have self-confidence, what do? You start using these strategies with the people around you. What do the people around you start seeing you as? A leader. Honest to goodness, I have 30 years of real experience and real results. And it sounds so simple, but it is so hard. Why? Because we have our old habits. How were our parents bringing us up? How did our teachers teach us? And then now we have to break this whole mold, and we have to do things in a way that makes individuals powerful. As I'm doing these podcasts and talking to entrepreneurs and business people, one of the things they say is, we can't hire anyone that's coming out of high school or college now. I said, why? They said, because they have no self-awareness. So I went back to my graduate students in law. I was teaching a law class. Mm-hmm. And I just said, I don't want your name. I don't want anything. Give me something about what are you? Who do you bring? What do you bring to the world? Not one person. There were 30 people. Not one person could raise their hand. That's scary.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's funny, a lot of the things you mentioned, and this is not the exact same thing what you're talking about, but I think it's at least tangentially related. A huge epiphany in my corporate career when I was a leader was I got turned on to the Myers-Briggs.
Uh-huh.
And again, I know it's not exactly what you're talking about, but I think at least tangentially related in that it taught me that, I think I had one way, like, okay, I'll use the example. If you're a rah-rah leader, right? You're the one that goes, come on, guys, we can do this. We can do this. Well, not everyone needs to be led that way, right? Some people need the attaboys, and some other people need other types of motivation, other things to kind of get them going and make them most productive and the best version of themselves. And that's what the Myers-Briggs really taught me. That is, I looked at all those different, 4-letter combination potentials, and then thinking about the people on my team and knowing what 4-letter combination they were. And then you read the description, and you're like, holy cow, that's why Sarah does X, Y, and Z in these meetings. And that's why Ed never responds when I do this. And it was such an epiphany for me. And again, I know it's a little bit of a different form of what you're talking about, but it sounds like it's a very type of similar thing.
Individual differences. No, you're right on. Exactly.
Yeah. And so as a leader, knowing the differences, so you're not just leading one way. You're not just telling, the rah-rah person, or you're not just the too subtle or whatever. Like you mentioned, the generalist and the specialist, knowing people on the team and knowing that Sarah's a specialist and Ed's a generalist. And again, if you can get them together and not have them kill each other because they're driving each other crazy, they're going to produce something really good. But I think the key that I found with it was, in that example, is putting them together on a project and saying, here are the things that I need, Ed, here's what I need you to do on this project. And basically, enhance or talk more about his generalist skill set or his mindset. Sarah, here's the things I need you to work with Ed on, because maybe Ed's not really good at this. I don't say that out loud, but kind of hone into her specialist skill set or mindset as you're talking about, and then setting that groundwork, and then saying, have at it. You guys go at this, and come back in 2 weeks and let me know what you come up with. Mm-hmm. Absolutely mind-boggling, game-changing type stuff.
Yeah. No, I hear you. And actually, mine's actually even easier, because we don't have to go out and purchase a test. We just have to open our awareness and be aware of what we're seeing. And when we do that, it comes. And people they eat out of your hands, because they're so glad that somebody is making them a profitable individual. They become successful under you. And that's important.
Yeah. And I think I'll probably get this saying wrong, but I'm sure you're familiar with it. I think so many people listen waiting for their turn to speak next, as opposed to listening to understand, right?
Oh my gosh, you're so right.
And again, not having that awareness of trying to, and once you kind of get honed in on some of these things, and again, I'm at the kindergarten level, obviously, compared to you, but hearing some of the subtle things that people say when they talk to you about things, and knowing that, oh, well, that also means that, in your brain, you're kind of processing this as I'm talking to this person of, oh, well, then when I talk to so-and-so on my team that I'm trying to motivate to do this next project, hearing some of those verbal cues and really paying attention to those things, and knowing how to communicate, knowing how to motivate, knowing how to make them feel really, that I'm bought into this, they're bought into it, et cetera. This is fascinating stuff. We got to hit another break here, guys. Again, drdianneolvera.com. Come back after the break. We're going to continue talking about a lot of different things, but we're going to talk a little bit about neurodiversity.
Yes.
How would you like to have direct access to Mr. Biz to help you run your business more profitably and more efficiently? At MrBizSolutions.com, you get live access to not only Mr. Biz, but also several of his hand-picked and trusted business experts, each with 20-plus years of experience to help you optimally manage and grow your business. That's just the start of where Mr. Biz Solutions begins. Learn more at MrBizSolutions.com. That's MrBizSolutions.com.
Attention, Mr. Biz Nation. We have an exclusive offer just for you. Get lifetime access to scarcity countdown timers and logic links for only $69. Yes, you heard it right, only $69. These tools will add urgency to your email campaigns and website pages, helping you increase conversions, sales, and capture more leads. Don't miss this incredible opportunity. Visit GetPulseTools.com now and take your business to new heights.
Got a question for Mr. Biz you want answered on air? Email it to info@MrBizSolutions.com. Now, once again, here's Mr. Biz.
All right, welcome back to the show, and we're only down to one segment. We had 9 minutes left with Dr. Olvera, so I really want to dive into this one. And you brought it up during the break, and I was kind of thinking of it, but you really brought it up, and I thought, man, I really want to talk about that. You had mentioned one of the things that's becoming a challenge in the workplace nowadays is having multi-generations all in the same workplace, 3, 4, 5 generations of people potentially all in the workplace at the same time. What does that look like? What are some strategies that leaders can use to really have someone? I mentioned to you during the break the example I have of a client who has a department leader who has 5 people in the department. The oldest person is about 70 and the youngest is about 20. Yeah. And then there's a few people in between that are, mix of ages in between there. And it's like, holy cow, how do you get those people to really work together most effectively?
Yeah, and I find that writing seems to be the big bugaboo. I even had it in my college classes. People would feel like they were cheating if I said, use Grammarly. Please start acting like a professional. And they were afraid to do so. Now, these are young people. Imagine if you're 50, 60, 70 years old and you had to go through all the writing classes and have your hand slapped and when you were writing incorrectly and doing script. Now, all of a sudden, you have to acquiesce your knowledge and presence to some 20-year-old who's telling you to go on ChatGPT and make whatever you wrote better. I mean, it's almost demoralizing and demeaning, but if you could take that hat off and permit that person to explain and to show you, just having that person who understands the technology, even the minimal part of technology, you would probably be raising your business productivity by thousands of dollars if you could just lower your self-esteem, permit others to teach you, even though you've been there for 30, 40, 50 years, and then integrate your experience with the lack of experience, but the knowledge with their abilities. That's a marriage made in heaven.
We literally just talked about this a couple of shows back. I think someone asked me a question about AI and all that kind of stuff. And, I look at AI, at least at this point, depending on the type of business you're in, but as to your point, it's an enhancer.
Yes.
So imagine taking that person who's got the 30 years of experience and then teaching them to exactly what you're talking about, to be able to enhance their knowledge with using, some form of AI, coupling that 30 years of rolling the sleeves up, getting the hands dirty with some technology like that. Like you said, it's just, the change is huge. It's getting people to understand that it's not replacing your job. It's enhancing your job. It's going to make you more productive, et cetera.
Well, you used a perfect word, enhance. So if I were working with these people, that's exactly how I would start. George, I love your writing. May I permit you to learn this, to enhance it, to see how we can kind of dovetail that in with the productivity of our company. When you start with positive, the person then opens their cognition, that opens their ability to receive comments. That's open conversations. When you can open up your door, your emotional door, to say, I can listen to you, I can receive your information, and I can do something with it without it hurting my ego. that becomes a real cohesive company.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Well, I wanted, so we're again, gosh darn, we're running out of time here, but I teased it. I want to make sure we talk about this because this is another thing that's really fascinating to me. And that's navigating neurodiversity in teams. So, you talk about creating safety for neurodiverse individuals in the workplace. So first of all, if you would, for those who are unaware, define that for us. What is neurodiversity?
Neurodiversity is how the brain is wired. Each one has a unique way of wiring. But when it doesn't fit into the social norms, we consider them neurologically diverse, which they are. But if you really see the beauty, I really believe that each person in this world has beauty. If you can see their beauty and utilize that in whatever you're looking to do, and then praise them for the pieces of beauty that they are producing for you, you won't get them out of the office. They will be so excited because finally somebody sees them for who they are and how they can enhance your life rather than people telling them what to do all the time. It works. It really works.
I believe it.
just
I
can't
believe
be-
it.
Yeah.
So I was going to say, what are some practices that you've seen and or I'm sure implemented that help business leaders, entrepreneurs build more inclusive and innovative teams along the line with utilizing neurodiversity?
Well, first, I sit down as a team and we discuss the person that is coming in. But before they come in, we discuss some of the behaviors that you might see. Too much noise, possibility of kind of turning off, going inward. These are some of the possibilities that you'll see. And then you talk directly, independently with the neurodiverse person, and you ask them, what specifically do you feel you would like for an accommodation or that other people know and how to work with you? And then if he's okay or she's okay, then you ask them to come in and talk in the meeting with all of you so that now you become a brotherhood and not an isolated entity that's sitting in a little cubicle by himself with headphones on. And when you see the intelligent things that these kids can bring out, I mean, I have kids that were what they call NLD. Do you remember Kamala Harris's vice president? His son was NLD. My brain research was on NLD. Every one of those students that was in my brain research, at least the ones that have communicated with me, are all businessmen and women, productive families, and matter of fact, some of them have actually written in my book to acknowledge some of the work that we've done. So everything that's in my book is actually real stories of situations. And it helps you kind of understand how to use that information in your own work or in your own life.
Yeah, I think it's an untapped, mostly untapped, because I think I know someone who's neurodiverse as well, and extremely introverted, always has the headphones on, doesn't like loud noises, some of the things you had mentioned. He is ultra creative. You turn him loose on something. It's the son of one of my wife's friends, and the things that he can produce, especially at his age, are absolutely amazing. And you have this sometimes self-limiting belief of someone who has certain attributes, and you're like, oh, he's kind of in his shell, and oh no, he's got a lot going on up there because he is so creative. And so now mom uses it and he thrives in those environments, of course.
Oh, thank goodness. I'm so glad she's using it.
Yeah.
But now we have to get that from the house into production. And that's the hard part, because a lot of people, they're afraid. They're afraid they're going to make them scared, or that they're going to be like an individual that's going to make things difficult for them. And that's not true.
Yeah. This is fascinating stuff. Unfortunately, we're out of time here, Dr. Olvera, but again, drdianneolvera.com. We'll put that in the show notes as well. You can follow her on Facebook, on Instagram, and on LinkedIn as well. Dr. Olvera, fascinating conversation. I really appreciate you coming on the show.
Right. And my book is on Amazon. So
yes, absolutely. The Power of Connection. The Power of Connection. Guys, Guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Have a fantastic rest of your week. And don't forget, as always, cash flow is king.
To become part of Mr. Biz Nation, follow him on all social media platforms or never miss a show by going to MrBizRadio.com. If you prefer free video content, visit the Mr. Biz YouTube channel or check out his streaming channel, which is available on 100 plus streaming platforms at MrBizNetwork.com.